Hi everyone, welcome back to Garden Grub. I just picked all of my basil. So I got a few different varieties. I got Genovese basil, sweet basil, lemon basil, and I am going to process all of this. Some of this is going to be Basil Salt, and some of this is going to be just basil cubes, you'll see. And some of this is going to be pesto, and it's all going to be preserved for the winter. I don't like using basil once it's floured because it can change the flavor, but for cooking purposes, doesn't matter. Does not matter. I have some more piccolo basil in my veg truck that isn't floured, so that's going to be for fresh eating. I'm going to go ahead and clean all this basil up, and then I will meet you in the kitchen. Just giving these all a wash. Not to rehydrate them more or less, but just to kind of get up any bugs or dirt. Just giving them a spin dry. And I'm going to put them in this bowl. Let me just make sure that bowl is dry. There we go. And the bowl. I have to wash them a couple times depending how dirty they are. All right, done washing all of the basil. I ended up plucking out green onions as I was pulling the plants out. So those will just dehydrate, slice them up and dehydrate them because I love adding them to like soups and eggs and that sort of stuff. The first way I want to preserve my basil is with these silicone ice cube trays. They have lids. So all I'm going to do is tear them up into large pieces, just enough to fit in the tray. And then I'm going to fill them with water, basically make ice cubes, basil ice cubes. The reason why I'm doing it this way, I am going to preserve them in oil as well, is because if I want to do like a basil lemonade or a drink that has basil in it, or I want to have the fresh flavor of basil, I can just pull out an ice cube versus the pesto with the oil, because I don't always want it in oil depending what I'm using it for, like the pesto. But sometimes I just want like a basil lemonade is absolutely fantastic in the dead of winter when you're just waiting for spring to come back. It's a really refreshing drink. And I also like to use it in culinary applications as well. Like I can put this inside of a soup if I don't want to put a pesto in a soup. It's like, for example, if it's not an Italian soup, I can just use a basil ice cube. Go ahead. Oh my goodness, look at my shirt. It's all wet from washing off the basil. I have to get into the habit of wearing an apron. I don't wear an apron, and I know I should. I'm just terrible at that. But anyway, just rip up your basil. I prefer to rip it than cut it, because if you cut it, the edges can turn black, but if you rip it, it doesn't. I'm just voiceovering because my son has the air fryer on. He's making himself some lunch. But anyway, now I just fill it with some regular tap water and make ice cubes.
So now I'm just going to cover it with a silicone lid, and this keeps it airtight and prevents it from spilling and getting freezer burn while it's in the freezer this winter.
The next way I'm going to preserve it is simply basil and olive oil, just due to the fact I don't want to make pesto because then I'm limited to its uses. This basil oil can go on top of pastas, chicken, meats, all kinds of things I can use this in. I can add a scoop of it to whatever recipe that I'm making. But if I have just a pesto, then I'm limited to what I can use it with, because it has the cheese and the salt and all that kind of stuff. But if I just do basil and oil, I can use it in almost any dish. Very versatile. So I've just packed this with basil, and I'm gonna fill it with oil and give it a buzz. So I'm gonna use this organic cold pressed olive oil and just fill her up. So once this is full, I'm gonna give it a whirl. And then we'll put it in the ice cube trays. So just put enough olive oil in it so that it will blend. All right, look how thick and green it is, because I want this to be more basil than oil, because I'm not making a pesto. If I wanted to turn this into pesto, I can take a few cubes out and I can do it that way, but I want to use this for cooking mainly.
I'm not worried about making them fully even. I'll smooth it out with a spatula. So this is what it looks like in the tray. Now I'm just going to pop it on the lid and put her in the freezer.
The next way we're going to preserve basil is basil salt. So I got my handy dandy blender. I'm just gonna pack in all these basil leaves and try not to make a mess. There we go. I'm just gonna put in some salt. And now I'm just gonna whiz it all up. Alrighty, so it's all blended up. Kind of looks like that. Just gonna put it on this tray. Look how green this is. I'll show you in a second. This works better in a food processor. I don't have one. So that's how it looks, and we're just gonna spread it all out. I'm just gonna leave this on my dining room table to air dry, and then every day I'm just gonna give it a toss so that way it can fully dry. So you just leave this out until it's fully dry. Depending how much salt you've used, how much basil you used, how much moisture, how thickly you put it on, it could take anywhere from several days to a week or two, but that's okay. You don't need to cover it, you're just gonna leave it out, and nothing's gonna bother it with this much salt in it. It does lighten in color. This is last year's basil salt. I usually just make a jar's worth because it's, as you can see, it's more than enough. And I don't use it in every single application, but I did go through quite a bit of it. It's actually very good. Sprinkle it on tomatoes or on your salad, or when you're making a tomato dish, or when you're salting chicken. Very versatile. Oh, it's also great on when you're roasting your veggies or sauteing veggies. Tastes fantastic. So thank you, friends, for joining me today while we preserve our basil harvest. I still have some more to go. I did end up throwing some in the dehydrator, but I still have a bit to go, so I'm going to do a jelly. If you want to see that video, that will come up next and then my next video, so stay tuned for the tomato basil jelly. Fantastic on meats, cheeses, charcuterie boards, inside your sandwich. And I'll give you some examples on how to use it as well. Take care, friends. See you next time. Bye.